Bring that joy. Bring that joy. Bring that joy. Hello, everyone. I was muted there for a sec. Welcome to today's edition of You Can Tech 2. Your journey starts here. So today is going to be very amazing. We have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful panelists with us. And today we're going to be talking about startups and how you can build your own startup. So all the people that are coming in today are either people that built their startups, are building their startups, or have been pivotal to the growth and scale of a startup. So essentially, if you have any ideas and you're confused, you don't know how to go about it, don't worry, today all your questions will be answered and all your doubts cleared as you'll have these wonderful people who tell you about what it means to build a startup and everything around startups, essentially. So today, before we start, I would like you to remember that Builders Tribe is a community, a tech community based in the MENA region. And what we do is that we essentially connect people. So startups with tech professionals that can work with them to bring the ideas to life. We also connect founders to investors and, the ecosystem just keeps going like that. So for today, before we continue, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel because there'll be more things like this happening from time to time. We're going to be sharing lots and lots of resources that can help you both on your tech and on your startup journey. All right. Now we're going to move on very quickly to the first aspect of today's session, which is the keynotes. And for that, we have the amazing Jason Marshall. So, Jason, I'll tell you an interesting backstory here. So, Jason is the COO of Yellow Card. I worked at Yellow Card when my tech career started properly in 2019. And I always heard about Jason. Oh, Jason's our advisor. Jason said this, or we have to do this. And it was amazing to have like someone essentially watching over and giving all this direction. And then when Yellow Card grew so much that it started to scale, Jason came in to hold the company together and took Yellow Card to exponential growth. In my own personal career too, I remember when I was struggling to scale my career, as we can put it. And I had a very interesting conversation with Jason one very wonderful day. He told me some hard truths, some things I had to know and I had to learn and I had to improve on. And from then onwards, my career took off. My work ethic improved and many things around that. So very excited today to introduce Jason Marshall as he takes us on a journey of how to build a successful startup. Hello, Jason.
Hello. Thank you, Ajiri. I appreciate that. Um, I know time's short, so I'll get right to it. So today I'm going to cover a few things. First, I'll give you a little background on our company, Yellow Card. Then I'll tell you the story about how we got here. And then I'll tell you about some of the universal lessons that we've learned and experienced that we think can be applied for any startup. So I just have a few slides to give you a little context of who we are. Um, and are my slides visible? So Yellow Card is a Africa focused fintech based with a parent company in the United States, operating in 20 countries throughout Africa. But let me tell you a little about our company in pictures. So we have a few different products. We have a retail app or crypto exchange, and most of our business is consists of people buying and selling stable coins, USDT, USDC, with local African currencies via bank transfer or mobile money in 20 different countries in sub-Saharan Africa. We have a Yellow Pay service, which is a cross-border P2P wallet-to-wallet system, allows people to send money from one African country to another instantly for free. And then we leverage the infrastructure we built for those products to build a payments API we sell to businesses. That allows businesses to collect or receive fiat payments via mobile money or bank transfer or other means via our infrastructure. We operate across 20 African countries and growing. We aspire to cover all African countries where we can. Everywhere what we do is legal and feasible, we want to do it. But we're growing rapidly. We grew 4x in 2023, and we're growing at a fast pace in 2024 as well. We also have some great partners and investors, and we're leveraging those partners to bring other kind of solutions to life, whether we're upfront or behind the scenes. We believe that stablecoins is the new financial infrastructure for Africa, and there's a lot of people who see that vision also, and so we want to be part of those transaction flows, directly or indirectly. So what are we trying to do? Really, a new financial infrastructure that works, right? So anyone has experience in the African financial services system knows there's gaps, especially when you're making cross-border payments. Things can be slow, things can be cumbersome, expensive, FX rates can be bad, liquidity can be missing. So we think we have the opportunity to really make a difference at scale across the continent via consumer and business-to-business facing solutions. So a little bit about Yellow Card. That's just the context. Let me tell you a more interesting story about how we got here. So in 2017, two college students, Justin and Chris, who are 19 years old at Auburn University in Alabama, United States, were experimenting with different Bitcoin-based businesses. They were early Bitcoin adopters. They were trying different things. And then eventually they started focusing on the idea of selling Bitcoin in retail stores in the United States. The idea was to hang a little yellow card on a hook in a retail store, and the consumer would take that, pay for it at the register, scan the card, and then be credited in Bitcoin. That's where the name Yellow Card comes from. That they took this idea to pitch competitions, university pitch competitions around the country, won some prizes to get a little bit of money. They raised a little bit of money from professors. They approached every businessman they could reach who had a few extra funds, raised a little bit of money, not substantial money, but enough to get started. And they did. And then one day they're at the bank waiting in line, and the person in front of them was a professor from Nigeria. And the Nigerian professor was sending $450 home. And the bank charged this man $90. Charged him $90 to send $450 home. And they were shocked. And they took the man to the side and said, well, have you ever thought about using Bitcoin? And because they knew that you could do this much cheaper and with much less hassle with Bitcoin. And they started talking to him. They started talking to every Nigerian in the United States they could get a hold of, networking, being introduced to other Nigerians, being introduced to people in Nigeria, getting connected with the Bitcoin and crypto community in Lagos. And they thought there might be something there. So our CEO, Chris, who again is like 19 at the time, or maybe 20, he didn't even have a passport. He'd never traveled outside the United States. So he got a passport, made his first trip outside the United States to go to Lagos, Nigeria for a conference. So two Americans, two Nigerians, one little hotel room because they had no money, right? People sleeping on the floor to just learn, right? And what is going on? What is the opportunity here? They came back from that trip, and the company completely shifted and said, we're an Africa-focused company. We'll start in Nigeria and then spread throughout Africa. And the whole goal is, how do you use crypto to solve basic financial services problems, right? And because they knew that if we use this technology, we can help people send money home with better FX rates and lower fees. People can protect themselves from devaluation. People can pay international suppliers even if the bank doesn't have the liquidity. Um, they can make these cross-border transfers at a cheaper and better FX rates. Um, and so that's what they did. The company immediately started focusing. Almost all hires from that point on were in Africa. And um, also during that time, they were advised to get some experienced people from the industry as mentors and company advisors. And that's where I came in. I was on the advisory board, unpaid, but doing a lot of different work, right? Reviewing business plans, financial models, investor decks, etc. Um, in 2019, they launched an Africa-focused product, a really MVP, minimum viable product, basic crypto exchange in Nigeria to allow people to buy, at that time, only Bitcoin with Naira or to sell Bitcoin for Naira. They also launched a commercial trading desk at the same time for larger transactions. Um, Very basic. All right, it worked, but it didn't have many features. Um, but it started to grow. It started to grow from zero. It got some momentum, and it was really in part because there was the right market at the right time. Um, in 2020, based on that growth, Yellow Card raised the seed round, $1.5 million. And right after raising the seed round, I joined full time as the COO. And since then, since raising that initial 1.5 million in 2020, the company's continued to grow and evolve. Most of our business now is not Bitcoin, but rather stable coins, USDT and USDC. Um, we serve a lot of businesses as well as consumers, and we have a growing portfolio of products, all built on a common technical infrastructure. Um, since inception, we've processed over $3 billion in transactions. We employ over 250 people, including 90 Nigerians, 60 Kenyans, and 40 South Africans, a dozen Ghanaians, and other people scattered throughout the continent. Out of that 250, we only have 6 Americans. We've continued to grow and expand. We're operating in 20 countries now, with more coming. And we've announced fundraising since inception of about $50 million. Um, we're not there yet. We have a long way to go to get where we want to be, but we're making progress. Things are definitely a little more easier, or things are definitely easier than they were in 2019, 2020. We're maturing rapidly, but it's been quite a journey. Progress is not a straight line, lots of ups and downs. Startups are a roller coaster for sure. So let me talk a little bit about some of the basic lessons that we think apply to everyone. And I'll slow down a little bit here because I think this is the real most important part of why Ajiri and team asked me to join. First, I think is patience. Don't start a company unless you love your idea and you're willing to dedicate 10 years to do it. I said 10 years. Be honest with yourself. There is Startups are not get rich quick schemes, right? Every startup that's an overnight success has 10 years of struggle and grinding behind it. Yes, occasionally there'll be some that'll be shorter, but if you look at company after company, if you really do your research, it's 10 years. Um, Two is focus. At Yellow Card, the leadership at Yellow Card, we don't angel invest in any companies. We don't have another startup or idea we're pursuing. None of us is even on the board or advising other companies. Um, we barely have hobbies. All of our time and effort and energy is on time with our family and the startup. There's no room for anything else, right? We don't have the mental space for anything else. Those ideas you get when taking a walk or driving or in the shower that pop into your head, all those ideas are around Yellow Card. I don't have anything else going on to be swirling around my brain. Those ideas that you wake up in the middle of the night and you write down, right? I don't have 5 projects going, I have one, right? That focus is key. If you really believe in your idea and you're serious, be ready to go 10 years and be ready to focus on it. Otherwise, it's a hobby or a side project, which is fine if you want to have side projects and hobbies. But if you're serious, you got to go all in. 3 is resilience. This is hard. it took a long time for us to raise that initial 1.5 million. And without that, we wouldn't have had a chance. You have to eventually you have to have some money or you just can't grow. Um, our CEO spoke to over 100 potential investors before raising that money. I didn't say 10, I didn't say 15, I said 100. I hear early stage founders talking about how hard it is to raise money. I'll ask them, well, how many people have you approached? I said, eight. I said, eight, you're just starting, right? Like, talk to me when you've hit 70, right? Show me your spreadsheet or your database of everyone you've talked to and you've followed up on and you've networked with, and the people who said no to you, you asked them if there's anyone else you could talk to, and they gave you two other names, and then you asked them the same thing, right? Um, it, it's resilience is key, and not just on fundraising and everything else, right? Everything that could go wrong, we've seen go wrong. We've had massive overnight regulatory changes. We've had uh, the occasional employee issue. We've had just random dramatic things happen, right? That's startup life. These type of events happen in all companies. The difference is what might happen in 10 years at a standard company happens in 10 months at a startup. So it's just more intense, right? But they will happen. You just have to be resilient. You just have to expect it. Fourth point is financial discipline. We've always been uh, very disciplined and conservative about how we manage the money that we do raise. And I'll make a couple sub points on that. One is founder salaries. If you want to maximize your cash compensation, don't start a company. Um, there's a lot of easier ways to make the most cash. I think good early stage founders are generally broke and they don't care. Our co-founders lived in an apartment paid by the company and received just enough salary to eat. Everyone we were hiring, most of them were making more than the co-founders for years, right? When I joined full time, I joined for 1/3 of the cash salary that I had made prior, right? We were happy to hire people making more than us. We were happy to make that sacrifice. And over time, as we have a little more success, we can kind of get things closer to a standard. But it's not about short-term cash comp. It's about long-term equity, right? If we build something that's worth a lot of money at the end, we'll be fine. But it's a long-term play, not a short-term play. Founding a startup is not short-term money. It's the opposite. And we've always thought that way. We've always had a choice, especially in the early days. Do we raise our founder salaries or do we hire another engineer? And the answer was always hire the engineer, right? Because it was always about maximizing the total value of the company over the long term. Another point under financial discipline, we've never, we've raised a fair amount of money, but it's not our money. And we've never viewed it that way. When you raise money from investors, it's actually a responsibility, right? It's a commitment, right? You actually have a legal responsibility to maximize the return for them. You're custodians of their money. And we've always treated that way. We've always tried to make data-driven decisions on how we spend money, right? If we spend this, what's the return? We've always avoided what we see some founders get in trouble with doing is trying to flex with other people's money, right? You haven't seen us spend the money we raised to sponsor a reality TV show or a football team or a giant music artist or anything flashy. I mean, that stuff's cool and all your friends think it's cool and mom is impressed, but that doesn't last, right? We're trying to build something for the long term. If the return's there, we do it. But if the math doesn't work, don't do it. When we raise money, we've invested in the boring back end stuff, and we're in financial technology, financial services, so there's a lot of it. Cybersecurity, compliance, legal, accounting infrastructure, data infrastructure, right? All that stuff behind the scenes that no customers see, right? That's not cool, that no one's going to even understand what you're doing, right? My mom wouldn't get it, right? But for long term, that's what's going to make us more valuable. Um, uh, Fifth point, we've always been very customer centric. We've always spent a lot of time and effort getting feedback from our customers. And that ranges from everything from we've had ambassador programs, so college students in the field talking to customers, and then we get information from them, to we actually pay customers or prospective customers to come into rooms and watch them and study how they maybe they onboard or how they interact with the app. With larger customers, we have people regularly meeting with them in person. I travel about 90 to 100 days a year around Africa. A lot of that time is actually sitting and meeting with big customers and partners, learning. Um, we've never assumed that we had all the answers. We wanted to get the answers from them. And then my final point is, um, you have to inspire your team. This is hard and it's all this stress, right? But as a founder, you have to bear that. And for your team, you have to get them focused, keep them focused and excited on the vision. Because this stuff is hard, but it's also fun. And it's the most rewarding thing you can do for you and your whole team to build something new and to build something big together. So with that, thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me the time, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Jason. That was amazing. It was so packed. I learned so much. Thank you for your time once again. To have an amazing rest of your day. All right. My God, that was a lot in a very short time, and I really hope you took notes and come back to this live and watch it over and over and over again. All right, so we're moving on now to the next part of this event, and that is the panel session. We have amazing people. We have two amazing people joining us today because the third person could not join. That is Mr. Marcus Bradley. So he's having some technical difficulties, and so he would unfortunately be unable to join us today. But we have two other amazing people with us today. We have Kelechi Abiri. So Kelechi is the CEO and co-founder of Arbitac and Repose Bay, an amazing HR powerhouse. And we're excited to have her here. We also have the amazing Garav Shakdeva. I really hope I pronounced that correctly. He is the CEO and founder of the Founders Majlis, an amazing community and consulting company. I think they would all tell us more and more about what their startup is and answer all the many questions that we have prepared for them. So if you have any questions that you've pre-written down, please don't forget when it's time for questions, you put that out. So yeah, you're welcome to today's session, Kelechi and Gaurav. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you so much, Ajiri.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Glad to be
So
here.
we're going to start with you today. So you're welcome. So please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the Founders Majlis, your career journey, and everything around that.
Yeah. So you pronounced my name right. It's Gaurav Sachdeva. Um, Founder Majlis is it's a place where startups and investors and corporates come together and take a meaningful discussion and take a meaningful outcome. It's a Qatar-based and MENA-focused community where we help startups raise funds, where we do consulting with banks, fintechs, and government enterprises. And we also help large scale startups and enterprises from other parts of the world to expand to MENA. Uh, the way I started my first formal job was way back in 2004 with the American Express Bank. It was about selling credit cards to high net worth individuals, just fresh out of my MBA and on the streets, finding where these high net worth individuals are, and then reach out to them, meet them, however, and sell this. So I believe that selling insurance and selling credit cards are the most complicated career in the world, and sort of I have felt it like that. Extremely complicated, extremely tough. Never knew how to sell something to someone, And you telecall people, you talk to people, tell them that I'm so and so, and then this is what I want, and what we have, and this is what we want to sort of position my product. So just after 3 months after joining my first job, I I came back to my room. I was living alone and started crying. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know why people are abusing and why people are not being answering. Right? Those are quite quite uh, what quite complicated, quite disrespectful. And then I read a book called How to Sell Anything to Anybody. It is by Joe Girard, and this guy has a Guinness Book of World Record in selling maximum number of Chevrolet cars. And that changed my perspective. That actually gave me a much more way of handling people. How actually I have learned the perseverance, and how actually I went about and looked at handling rejections. I think that was a very, very first lesson I got, is that, you know, how I meet 100 people, and even though 95 says no, I still carry on, right? And Jason also in his keynote talked about that, during the funding stage, that how persistent you are. And that was my lesson number one. Having said that, my first informal job, and that time I was just doing some kind of a part-time job, was with a company called crickinfo.com, and my job was that watch a cricket match live and update the score live onto the internet. So every ball by ball I have to update the score. I worked with McDonald's just because they wanted to give free food during my birthday. I sold weight reducing belts on the streets. And then I also worked as a call center executive in the technology this thing. The major one where I worked a lot before I really worked with American Express, where I earned $20 a month, was a coder. So that was my passion way back in 1998, that I wanted to become a tech coder. And it was that time I was building in C++ and Java, basically a platform or a website to connect franchise with franchises. Uh, Learned a lot, but eventually gone into a different direction and figured out different stuff before I landed into MBA and a couple of other things what I did. But I think the my first step, it's basically about how to sell and how to negotiate and uh, how to handle rejections and know about it. And I think it's been 20 years working with various corporates, or during my own startup now. That learning still stays with me, whether about convincing and negotiating, my co-founders or employees to join my startup, or selling anything new to the new set of corporates or business professionals, or even convincing my daughter that how to brush your teeth every day in the night. It's just that part of my day-to-day life, about how do I go about selling, negotiation, uh, understanding, and not really going down even when somebody says no, and just keep on going. So that's sort of in a brief early career, and sort of what I'm going to do, what I do in the Founders Majlis.
That's amazing. Such a beautiful story. I'm in awe because I didn't even know this. And you share the best stories on LinkedIn too. If you're not connected with Garab on LinkedIn, you should do that as soon as. In short, right now, go on your LinkedIn and send him a connection request, because you don't want to not be connected with him. Thank you so much for that lovely, lovely, lovely introduction. It was perfect. Today is wow. Okay, okay, okay. So, Kenichi, you're up. Give us an introduction and tell us a little bit about everything you want to tell us a little bit about.
Okay, thank you again, Ajiri, for having me, and pleasure, Gaurav. Your story was really, really interesting. Well, I started out in tech as a believe it or not, I was doing sales, and I was doing that for a unicorn, Nigerian unicorn, Jumia. That was my second job, like out of university, and I was really, really passionate about the job because it exposed me to working with an e-commerce company that was providing services across Africa. And at that point, okay, so my background is in is in French. I studied languages, so I never had a tech background before that, before working with Jumia. And so when I got that job, I was sort of exposed firsthand to how technology can connect countries, how technology can connect, let's say, users, because we were working with countries like Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, and I saw how I could collaborate with colleagues as far as Kenya, all over Africa. And that was in 2012. So it was really a very, very interesting time for startups in Nigeria at the time. And we had a multicultural team, and that was really, really interesting for me as well. Moving on to after that experience, spending 2 years with Jumia, I moved on to a travel tech company, and I was in charge of marketing and digital marketing. And that was also a very interesting exposure for me. And what it did for me was I was able to see the back end of how to promote a business, the back end of how to push a business. At that time, Facebook was like the most most important platform, and now we have a lot of other important platforms. So it was Facebook or Twitter at the time, and then there was Instagram later on. And so it was a very interesting time, because I saw what content could do. I saw I saw what marketing could do for businesses. However, I've always been a person that has seen businesses as a like the artery of the economy, basically. So you know, when you have the artery, and the artery is passing blood to the heart, every of those kind of connections, I feel like businesses are so important. And growing up, I helped my dad's business. My dad has an outsourcing business, so I was doing HR informally with my dad's business. So we used to help him do stuff like when we're on holidays, we help him do stuff like put together employees information, staffing details, training materials, all of those things. But I didn't know that when I was even helping out during my time with my dad, well, I was also preparing myself for human resources. So after my time in that travel tech company, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I knew that the best place for me to serve with the gift I'd gathered, or the skills I'd gathered, was human resource management. And I went on to do like the SHRM, which is like our Society of Human Resource Management, the global certification. I went on to do our local Chartered Institute of Personnel Management in Nigeria. And those experiences and those learnings exposed me to establishing my own HR business. And not being from a HR background, and succeeding in those certifications was very encouraging for me, because I felt that, okay, um, everything that I'd done until that point had contributed to that success in the certification area. So I kicked off as an entrepreneur officially in 2016, end of 2016, and I created a consulting company, and I was helping startups create company policies. I was helping startups recruit. I was doing all of that, but I realized that I didn't have a tool at the time that was going to help me manage those employees that were recruiting for those startups. That was going to help me document those employees properly, help me with payroll for those employees, etc. So I decided to build one. I decided to build a tool, and at the time, I made a lot of mistakes because I outsourced the building of those tools to a company that does software, and but I couldn't manage the maintenance of those, of the application in house. So typical founder story. I lost I lost the application, and it was hard to maintain in house. That knowledge transfer was difficult to manage, and so I had to do something differently. After I built like twice and failed with those, I built two HR softwares and I failed. In 2022, I finally made my final break in building those HR software. And this time I did something right by bringing the capacity in house and making them full time, and getting like a CTO and forming that team, that technology team, and then creating that product and launching it properly. And now we're very happy to have customers across various sectors using our HR software. We have customers also referring our software. We have our HR consultants in house using our HR software for clients. So it's been an amazing journey since we launched our software. And then we came to Qatar to also see how we could help startups, because this is becoming a very important hub for the ecosystem. Take it or believe it or not, Qatar is becoming a very important hub for the ecosystem, and so we decided to position ourselves here to be able to provide all the things that we did successfully in Nigeria, from the HR consulting standpoint to the HR software standpoint. So we're going to be able to offer that to the new businesses that are springing up in Qatar. And my journey has been what I would say has been very important in my journey is resilience, and determination. I've really failed a lot in terms of in different areas, and I'm happy that I'm still here to actually keep pushing and keep developing products that are viable and very important to the ecosystem in general. So that's pretty much a nutshell on my story, and I hope someone is inspired.
Thank you so much for sharing, Kelechi. It's well, it's interesting to learn all of these things, from today's session. So my next question will go to Gaurav, right? So it's a spin-off of what you said about what you do at Founders Majlis. So how did you discover that this was a problem? How did you decide to become or to create the Founders Majlis to solve this problem in the startup ecosystem in the MENA region? Yeah, like
Yeah,
what you do, consulting, mentorship, and all of that. Yeah.
yeah. So I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. I was having very comfortable job with Mastercard, working there for last 8 years. Um, I was managing the MENA region, so managing the portfolio of $300 million, and we were building things how people will pay in future, right? What are the ways for next 2 to 3 years, futuristic way, and the technologies and cybersecurity and tokenization, traveling around with business class, staying in five-star hotels, and Mastercard is a great place to work, right? So there was no reason for me to leave, and of course, money was itself good. The wealth creation was good, and once you hooked to getting monthly salary, it's very difficult to not uh, take that, right? And it's never actually occurred to me in my last 20 years of working with various banks, fintechs, or with Mastercard that I can also do that. Um, Only thing was that I was based out of Qatar and traveling all around Saudi, UAE, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, and sometimes in South Africa, Amsterdam, and US. So work was like I was living out of suitcase, right? Every Friday I come back and again take a weekend, and then travel again on Monday. Sometime even weekends of traveling. So one day, and that was the inflection point. One day, my 11-year-old daughter, sometime in June, walked up to me, and she said, "Dad, I wish COVID comes back again. At least you were there with us during that time." And she just said, and just she walked away. And I was thinking to myself that, uh, am I doing the right things? What I'm doing? And Incidentally, that week, my dad called me. And my dad is from Indian Air Force. He's retired now, living in India in Punjab. And he's man of few words. He doesn't talk much. And he called me and he told me that, Gaurav, at least call me sometime. And I realized that I haven't actually picked up a phone and called him in 5 years because I was so busy making money and career. And yes, I did talk to him during birthdays and anniversaries. So these two things made me realize, and I didn't know what to do, but I knew that what not to do, and I resigned from Mastercard. Until then, I had no clue what I'm going to do. Uh, and of course, that time the plan was to find a next job. But my what I did that time was I resigned, and then I took a premature retirement for 2 months, and I put myself under two rules. Rule number one: spend time with family, give as much time as possible, and I put my calendar like have to play basketball with my daughter, do something with my wife, etc., etc. And the second rule, what I did to myself was that I want to meet two interesting people a day consistently. And in that frame, I actually ended up meeting celebrities, film stars, regulators, central bank governors, footballers, bankers, and anybody and everybody. I kept my calendar open and I traveled wherever I could, whether it's Silicon Valley to Singapore to US to wherever I could find, or UAE or Saudi. If there's an event the next day and somebody invites me, I just go because I just wanted to make sure that I meet. And this was the very first time in my life I was meeting people without expecting anything in return. I wasn't wearing MasterCard hat or anybody's hat. I was just meeting them to learn, right? That was the objective. And while all of this happened, uh, and then I actually realized that a lot of people actually reached out. I met close to 20 to 30 CEOs of banks, and I just used to ask that what keeps you busy, and they only open up saying, I'm facing this challenges and that, and can you help me that? And of course I could help them that in some way or the other. So I could figure out that now there is a way of monetizing what I have, whether it is relationships, what I have built over the time, my knowledge and skills and experiences, or my network all over the world. Now I have all of this. Can I actually monetize that? And that's where the started off the founder Majlis happened, right? Now I have never done startup before. And in my life, whenever there is a phase comes in where I have to learn something new, I follow a principle, and typically it was also followed in Indian Vedic methodologies. It's basically called Sravana, Manana, and Nidhi Dhyana. What it means is that if you want to learn something new, and for me that time I wanted to learn how to build a startup, right? It was the first time for me. While I have built products in my corporate life as an entrepreneur, but as an entrepreneur where you're building everything from ground up and building an idea to a really something concrete. So the first step was Sravana, which means about reading and learning. So I read about every book possible I could on startups. I listened to all the best podcasts, and I loved Paul Graham of Y Combinator and listened to all his essays and whatever I could find. Right, that was the time to me to understand what is available so that I don't repeat the mistakes which is already being done. Second was a manana phase, which is about reflection. So once I did all of this, met two interesting people a day, read all of the possible podcasts, reached out to people on LinkedIn DM, tried to build my personal brand, asked a lot of questions about their journey. Then it is about reflection that, okay, fine, all this is good. What am I good at? What is Gaurav Sachdeva's core competency which makes him best in the world? How do I prove that I am good in X thing, which is 10 times better than rest everybody else in the world, right? And how does it my competency match with the requirement or a pain point which is in the market? So that was the 2 points, right? That's kind of a Venn diagram. And the third was Nidhi Dhyana. And I realized that there is a opportunity of the challenges which startups are facing, small and medium enterprises are facing, and tech ecosystem is very nascent. So there was an opportunity which I know that I could add significant value, and that's what the third step about Nidhi Dhyana. It's about learning through experience. I didn't stop at just reading books or listening to podcasts or about reflection. I went ahead and I said, okay, let me try doing that. Let me try open my company. Let me try getting first few clients and start doing it. I just jumped straight through. Extremely risky decision because I'm at 43 and we have to. I'm living in a country which is very high cost of living, and taking that jump was extremely riskier one at that stage, but I was very clear about what I'm going to do. And and I also realized that um, if there is a startup in MENA region, there is no proper support system. You do not have a Y Combinator equivalent in MENA, and even though there are accelerators, these are not solving the same way because those are copy paste of the US model fit into Qatar or a Saudi or GCC or MENA region, right? So you need something which is localized with a global outcome, and to build that where we can help support, and not only an accelerator which is like a glorified a real estate place, but it is actually about helping it. Of course, over the period of time, we realized that even before you build an accelerator, there is a more to that because a mentorship ecosystem is not there. In MENA, you do not have a 4x or a 5x founders who are willing to support the new founder. So that kind of thing itself is required, right? So that's why we have pivoted, we changed, we moved on to few things what we do now. However, my journey from a corporate life to startup life his being part of it just happened. And once it happened, um, I consistently pursued without giving up, right? So I continued doing that. And now comes to the point which Jason talked about in his keynote, that there's no hobby, there's no time. And I agree, the startup life is so that we work 7 days a week, 24 by 7. But I'm a very calendar guy. So my whole calendar, even if I have to do nothing in my calendar, it says do nothing, right? But I make sure that I have 1 hour blocked to spend with my family or with my dog or with my wife or anybody, right? Or with friends. So I make sure that I make time, and I found an alternate way of time. Even if they are busy, I found a way of still managing time for them, because the reason why I left corporate life was because I didn't have time for the family. So the next step, it's not, I don't want to go back to the same place where I continue to not have time with the family. Yes, I need to manage, I need to balance, I need to make various things. However, in back of the mind, I still have that thing that okay, I need to sort of manage, right? I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life integration, and now it's become part of life. So that's in a quick summary about how I got into starting my own startup.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing so many gems. So many gems. Thank you so much. I love what you talked about, managing time, spending time with family, and just taking the plunge and taking the risk. So my next question is for Kelechi. So tell us, as a founder right now, what does your day-to-day look like? What do you do, and how do you put it all together?
Okay, so my day to day is all about cash flow, how to get my business to positive cash flow daily, and how to network with people that are relevant as partners, investors, team. So believe it or not, I also find team members by interacting with people daily and networking with people daily. That's one strategy I always try to use. I try to get to know people before I bring them on my team, Partnerships, I'm always on the lookout for partnerships. I'm always on the lookout for investment opportunities. I'm always on the lookout for clients, and improvements of cash flows. Cash flow comes from your client acquisition strategy, and the areas of improvement that you see in your product as well. So I always look out for product improvements, researching trends, ensuring that I'm up to date with trends. And I read a lot of books as well. So I always have a time of my day where I must pick up my book, read at least 10 pages from a book, and ensure that I'm keeping my mind well occupied. Because especially in this social media and digital age, you can get carried away and um, just be scrolling aimlessly on the internet. So it's always good to have time where you use in self improvement, self development. Take time to read about your industry, stay abreast with current leadership trends, and also try as much as possible. Of course, I'm also a mom with two children, and just like where of course, family is also an important and a very very important part of my day as well. Even as a founder, keeping family as priority is also something I've tried to balance out, and I think I've really tried in aspect of finding help when I need to find help for my family, finding help for myself as well. So my day to day can start. The typical day can start from. I can start my day with a 10 minutes, 15 minutes workout just to get my heart rate up. Then I go into my day researching on product improvements, things that are very valuable to my product and the trends in my industry. I do a lot of research daily. And then I speak to team, I speak to partners, I'm very big on partnerships. So because of what we offer employees in our app, so I always look for ways that employee benefits can be enhanced. So I always look for partners to add on to what we're offering. So yes, of course, team meetings, and then networking with fellow founders, and ensuring that I have that I keep a healthy relationship with people that matter in my life as well. So that's basically my day to day. And of course, making sure that you know what is priority as a founder is so important. Everything is not priority. Everything is not an emergency. I say this as a joke with my co-founder. We tell ourselves that we're not doctors, so we're not going to save a life today. So we actually know what to prioritize and what not to prioritize. Some things are important but not urgent. Some things are urgent but not as important. So just knowing that balance is very important in allocating time slots for your day to day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelechi. Sweet and amazing as usual. All right. So, for our audience and people live, if you have any questions, now is a great time to put them in the comments because we're wrapping up. So everybody can go spend some family time. And to for the final question directed at Gaurav, what would you say is the one piece of advice, very quick and short so we can get to the questions? What would you say is the one advice you have for founders since you mentor and advise founders? What is the one piece of advice you have for founders?
Be selfish. What I mean by this is be very true to yourself and focus on what you know and what you do the best. When I say selfish, it means that really, really being true, make sure that you work very hard for the things you're trying to do, and don't give up until you yourself is convinced that you have tried all possible ways. There's always a solution. Just keep pushing, keep working hard, and nowadays this reaching out to people, finding right mentors, it's comparatively easier. My mentors have helped so much in my life. So many people have actually helped me change my direction, right? I wanted to become an Instagram influencer or a YouTuber once in my life, but someone actually helped me direct towards what I am good at and I should do. So, a role of mentors is very important. So, be very, very selfish and consistent in your approach, backed up with extremely hard work, and there is no other replaceability to that.
All right, thank you very much for sharing, Gaurav. There's a question for you in the comments, and the question says, if startup life is long hours every day for a long time, at what stage in your company do you know it's time to cut down the hours?
Great question. I think it's first thing is about managing your own time, right? In startup, nobody is really, if I'm a founder, no one is telling me to do this, do that. I need to be disciplined enough to manage it. So when I start working, and how do I really delegate it work to my team and my partners? It's about that, right? Yes, it also happens that sometimes we end up working late or working over weekends, but it's a way of managing the expectation. A lot of my clients, because their clients are working outside Qatar, and they are from say US or UAE, which works on Friday, but they are aware that I have a holiday on Friday, so they don't even call me on Friday. It's about setting the expectations right and managing your calendar very well. So if you set some time to go to a gym, uh, and I'm very clear that I go this time to this time as a gym, right? I love walking. Weather in Qatar is amazing, so I try to do, let's say, 8,000 10,000 steps a day. But sometime when time doesn't manage, I actually ask a few of the clients or startups who wants to meet. I say, okay, come, let's have a walk in a Cornish. So I do my meeting via walking itself. So it's just about managing expectation, but ensuring that it does not uh, you don't actually go ahead and kill yourself by overburdening, overstressing, managing your own mental well-being around it, right? So definitely work hard, work long hours. Sometimes I work for 16 to 18 hours a day. Having said that, when you do something very really you're passionate about, it really doesn't feel like a working altogether. Still, keep boundaries, keep expectations straight, ensure that you manage your clients in such a way that they do not really invade in your personal life, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you very, 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 very much. I see there's a question loading for Kelechi right now. Uh, okay, it's still loading. Don't know how to proceed. Now, I guess we can just wrap up since the question is not coming up. So, thank you very much for being here, our lovely panelists. This was an amazing, amazing time with you. Beautiful stories. I'm excited about all the people that would learn and that can take inspiration from all the things that you shared. So, for our people watching back wherever you are, don't forget to connect with Gaurav. Don't forget to connect with Kelechi. And don't forget to follow Builders Tribe across all socials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay updated because there's more coming out of the tech ecosystem in the MENA region. Have an amazing day today, everyone. And this brings us to the end of our summit. So, yay. Thank you, everyone. And bye for now. See you in the next one.
Bring that joy. Bring that joy.
In one word, describe the game's hangout.
Vibrant. Everyone's kind of getting along, playing games.
I would be underestimating if I gave it any less than a 10. Right? I've met some fantastic people here today, so it's a 10.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it, especially this drink from Court of Cards. Yes, the best drink ever, passion fruit.
I had a lot of fun, honestly. I feel I've been in touch with my inner child, which is something I should do more.
Such a different atmosphere altogether. I don't think I have ever been to such an event earlier. What's your impression of Builders Tribe so far?
Builders Tribe just screams community. It's just for the people.
The way you've managed and organized this event, I'm really impressed because it's something that we haven't done before and we were lacking as a community.
It's a nice community. I love how you came up with the idea to network with a lot of people. Networking, chilling, hanging out, playing cards. I love it. Drinks, especially. I love my drinks.
Community. Coming together. I've met 60 people today, which is really good. And I'm going to take those meetings further. I'm going to just through games.
It is getting interesting, and I think after today's conversation that I had around the table, there's some interesting subject and plan and project coming up.
This tech community is different in terms of the way networking is being happening. There are these young minds behind it, so we get to learn a lot with these guys.
I've been looking for a community such as this for quite some time.
It's a lovely community actually and diverse. I love that I met some people who work with as mentors in the community, and it's also fun to see some university students joining, so there's a really diverse, let's say, background of people joining all in all.